In this episode, Tyler Johnson shares his journey from a young golf enthusiast to the founder of Charlie Golf Company. Tyler discusses the importance of family in his life and business, the challenges of launching a new product, and the significance of building an audience before launching a business. He shares his vision for the future of the company, including new product development and the importance of fostering a love for golf in the next generation. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to The Range, the podcast where we explore the intersection of passion and business in the world of golf. I'm your host, Ari Ratner, and each episode will dive into the stories of the innovators, entrepreneurs, and trailblazers who are transforming the game we love into thriving businesses. Whether you're a golf enthusiast, an inspiring entrepreneur, or just curious about the business behind the sport, you're in the right place. So grab your clubs and join us on The Range as we tee off into the world of golf entrepreneurship. Hey guys, back with another episode. Super excited to have Tyler Johnson on the pod today. Tyler is creator and founder of Charlie Golf Company and father and former golfer himself. Tyler, thanks for joining.
Yeah, happy to be on.
So before we jump into the business, would love to hear your story around golf, your connection to it. Obviously, in doing the research, it runs in the family, and I have to assume that's part of why you built the business. But would love to hear from your words your connection to the sport.
Yeah, so I started at a very young age. My dad got me involved in the game. He actually cut down an old club long time ago, back in the late 80s, early 90s, something like that, like 1990. We still actually have the club at my parents' house. I saw it last Thanksgiving and, see it laying around every once in a while. And pretty cool that my, son and daughter now get to play around with that when they're at grandma and grandpa's house. So it is cool to see that. So I had a club in my hand at a very young age and, just sort of fell in love with it. My dad was a good player. So it was fun to sort of, beat him for the first time and do all that. And my grandpa, played golf all the time too. His nickname was Birdie. I found out at his funeral that it actually was not golf related. It was due to some comic strip book way long ago when he was in school. But it fit him well because he was always at the golf course, playing, talking, hanging out socially. So, yeah, growing up, so it was in my family when I was growing up. And then I had the opportunity to play golf at University of Northern Iowa in college. And I was there for 4 years, traveled, on the squad for the better part of 2.5 years. I played in, 1 or 2 tournaments my freshman year. I don't think I played at all my sophomore year. And then played every event, I believe, in my junior and senior year. And then after that, honestly, I didn't play for that long. Like every once in a while, I really did not play after I graduated college. It was a grind. It was an absolute grind playing in those college events and the competitiveness of it. And the competition golf is just completely different. So it wears on you. So I took a lot of time off and I'd play occasionally here and there. But once about 5-6 years ago, I really picked it back up again and sort of transitioned into wanting to show my kid and sort of show him the ropes of the game of golf.
Yeah. So let's segue into the business because I think that's a great way to talk about, why you started the company and, you have 2 young children and passing down the love you had as a child for the sport to them. And so how did the passion you have for the sport, the interest to pass it along to the next generation kind of trigger this idea in your head for a toddler golf bag?
It was really simple. Like, I think when it first came to my mind, we had a, new baby at home. Our daughter was very young and dad can't do a whole lot at that time, like a newborn baby. It's difficult, really relying on mom. So it was one of those things of, hey, let's get out of the house, for an hour or hour and a half, 2 hours, get outside. Let's go hit some golf balls. I want to hit some golf balls. I think it would be great, basically come on out with me to the driving range and take him along and he can tag along. I'm fortunate here in sort of the rural Iowa that I can go to a driving range and there's not going to be really anybody else. So I wasn't worried about my kid running around, interrupting others. It's not like a really extremely nice golf course or, high private or whatever. So it was perfectly fine for the kid to be out there at that time. And I had cut down clubs that my dad made for Charlie and we were just carrying them. And I was basically, when I left that driving range that day, I was thinking, okay, well, let's find him a golf bag because I needed to get him a golf bag. Basically, it sort of turned into me searching and not finding something that I was really, that I didn't think was very practical, I guess. At that time, I just didn't think a stand was necessary, and 2 straps for a 3-year-old, 3.5-year-old at that time was practical.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to put on a backpack, and he wouldn't figure out how to stand that thing up. So I resorted to that, that Sunday style carry bag that I thought would be absolutely perfect for a toddler.
That's awesome. And so how do you go from, or how did you go from idea in your head to getting product, or inventory in to start to sell?
Yeah. So the process was, I had an idea of what the Sunday bag was. I mean, it's a very simple design in reality, very simple. Though one of the hardest parts was the strap. The strap was, because you think of an adult strap obviously isn't going to work for a toddler, and the thickness and the flexibility of it has to, work properly. So the strap was actually one of the more harder parts of as far as designing the bag. But basically, I reached out to multiple manufacturers. I wanted to see who was going to respond to me the fastest, who was going to be, give me the best customer service, who was going to want to take on this project that had absolutely no legs behind it. It was just sort of pie in the sky, sort of one of those things that, hey, let's see what happens here. And I found a couple that made me samples, and I basically compared those samples, found the ones that I thought were going to be the best, the highest quality. The customer service was a big part of that as well. And basically I had these samples. I made adjustments to the samples based on, the initial ones that I got. Had those changes. They sent me more samples back to see hey, is this going to be the right product and the perfect product? So I finally landed on the designs of it and the materials and everything. And we, put an order in for 150 bags.
Yeah.
Back literally a year ago. It was, 150. It was a lot for me at the time, just buying the inventory and not knowing that, hey, I don't know what's going to happen here. These could sit in my garage for forever. I don't know if they're going to necessarily sell. Yeah, it was a big risk for me at the time. Looking back, 150, a year later, doesn't really seem like a whole lot, which is crazy to think about.
Well, so it's interesting because I want to dig in on that, but prior to, the goal of the range is, and having you guys on as entrepreneurs is to really help show other entrepreneurs, the steps it takes to build a business. And, how did you even go about finding manufacturers?
Google, and Google was one of the biggest ones. I mean, I just searched manufacturers, sent them emails, and got some responded, some didn't. Was
it a pretty short process?
I think I was fortunate on, actually the supplier that I'm using now. I think I was fortunate that fate may have it that we got lined up with it, and it's been an incredible relationship, ever
That's
since.
Awesome.
So you don't get some you don't get responses back. Sometimes you're shooting into the dark, you don't really know. And I found one that has worked out extremely well.
And was the manufacturer, golf equipment manufacturer solely, toddler, any?
It was soft goods, really, is what it was.
Yep,
so they did other bags. They were in golf, but they did other bags as well. But along that line. But soft goods is how I would describe it.
That's awesome. And then so you bring in the 150 bags. I read the story. I think it was, I forgot which publication wrote about it, but the story of how you and your college buddy, who we've had on the podcast, Jared, were sitting around kind of waiting to see what happened. Talk us through that experience and kind of the fear or the unknown versus once you start selling, and then what you're going to do to kind of keep momentum going.
Yeah. So I think, going back, obviously Jared has been a big part of this and somebody that I could, bounce ideas off of. But he really gave me one of the biggest pieces of advice as far as starting the business was, you need to build an audience first. So back in July, and I think this is good for any entrepreneur, is build an audience, grow a list well before you are going to launch. I think that is one of the biggest things, one of the biggest takeaways and part of the success that we've had is early on, I started Twitter and Instagram is the 2 main platforms that I went after. I had a lot of early success with Twitter as far as just telling a story, having a link to a wait list. I don't know when I'm going to have product, but if people are interested, they're going to put their email in, and then the ability just to communicate, keep them updated as far as where they're at. and then show behind the scenes, show what's going on with it, because it helps connect the audience to what you are trying to sell. So I think that was one of the biggest things that I had. So I knew that list, I had a tweet that went pretty viral about a year ago. I literally just tweeted about it because it's crazy that it's been a year since it's really started taking off.
That was yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah. I had an idea how many people I had on the list. I knew I had 150 bags. I worked the numbers backwards, like, half aren't going to open their email. How many are actually going to click on it? Or ran it back, and I'm like, I think I can sell 50 on the first day. So that was the number that I had in mind, and basically that morning of the launch, Jared came on over. I had like 2 little folding chairs set up. I had a monitor set up, thinking that this was going to be an all-day type thing. Sure enough, I updated inventory on Shopify and sent out the email at the same time, and the blue bag sold out in like 4 minutes, and then shortly after the pink bag sold out, and then it took about 28 minutes that the gray ones sold out. It was an extreme high. It was one of those like, oh man, this is awesome. But immediately I'm like, okay, I got to figure out now how we're going to get these things out the door. And it's crazy, like through the process of, doing 150, it took 2.5 days. My dad came up to help. I think my mom was there too to help. And the pictures from that first day and trying to get those 150 bags packed, it's crazy to look back on. It was just, can't believe it took 2.5 days, because we can do 150 now in probably about an hour and a half. Like realistically, when I have 2 people, we have a good flow with it now. So
awesome.
It is pretty crazy. As far as keeping up the demand though, communicate. And there is something about dropping product and a scarcity effect that definitely helped us early on, as far as, people see it now on social media. They missed out. How do I get this bag? What's everybody talking about? And then the ability to keep them updated as far as when more bags are going to be coming, remind them, and then do another drop. And we were very fortunate for, I think it was about 9 drops that we did, where I was basically taking those starting with 150 bags, taking all that revenue from it, buying as many bags as I possibly could, and kept doing that over and over and over and over again until we finally got caught up. I think in July maybe is when we finally got caught up with inventory and having inventory on hand. So
that's awesome, dude. That's fantastic. And I think the story of support, and whether it's your close family or your buddy like Jared, talk to me a little bit about what that support has meant from the growth of the company to where it is today. And I see on almost at least monthly occasion that your dad comes in to support, and talk a little bit about what that means to you.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, my dad's been a huge supporter of it, loves to come up and help. He wants to get his hands involved in it. I mean, he's a blue collar guy. He loves to work on that. Like, he works in a warehouse 2 days a week in second shift, like literally fulfilling orders. That's what he does. I mean, he's extremely blue collar guy. He comes up, loves golf, loves getting his hands in it, loves being in the mix. So I don't really have to twist his arm too much. He reaches out to me and say, hey, do you need some help? Do you need some help? Awesome. So he's always up. My mom's been up. My aunt, two of my aunts have been up to help out. So like, people have just reached on out asking if I needed help early on. Brother-in-law and sister-in-law have been up. And obviously my wife has been extremely supportive with the 2 young children in the house, and being able to manage all of that as well. And she'll chip in whenever she possibly can, as far as helping out with Charlie Golf. But yeah, it's been really cool. Jared's been extremely important as far as bouncing ideas off of each other. It's great to have somebody in the same mindset as you to run these ideas and just sort of keep you sane. And then the other thing with my dad is he's spent the night so many times at our house on the couch. Like, we only have a 3-bedroom house. We don't even have a spare bedroom for him. So he's been sleeping. He sleeps on the couch every once in a while when he has to spend the night. But I've spent more time with him in the last year than I have in the last 15 years. I mean, it's one of those things where, he's sort of around. We get out to the golf course every once in a while to play. We take Charlie out with us. So it's really cool to see that.
That's awesome. Does Charlie have a sense of what's happening?
No, he recognizes like the logo. So he'll say Charlie Golf Co. Don't know if he has any idea. I ask him all the time when we bring in a different color, when there's a different color. I say, hey, do you like this color? And he goes, no, I like my blue bag. And every time it's the blue bag. He still is set on the blue bag. That's his favorite bag. And there hasn't been another color that he likes more yet.
That's amazing. So as you think about kind of building a business versus making a product, right? The initial idea of, you wanting a bag for your son turned to investing in inventory of 150 bags, turned to 9 drops, to now having inventory and building a true business. Talk to me a little bit about how your mindset has shifted or evolved as the business has grown.
Yeah, so early on, honestly, when I first started the idea, the golf bag was the one thing that, was the reason for everything started. But as I started thinking about it more, I'm like, okay, my kid has these cut down clubs that are too heavy. So I knew that I wanted to do the golf clubs as well. Like that was something that it just took a whole lot longer to figure out that process, is designing and manufacturing golf clubs and introducing that into the mix. So like that was part of, of it as well. But now after all the drops have been done and transitioning into basically the daily e-commerce business, it's a different mindset because you don't get the rush like you did with the drops, so where you get all the orders instantly, and it wasn't a mad panic. Now it's like consistently orders throughout the day, which is really, really cool. And it's an everyday thing for me. Every morning it's packing orders, getting the orders to UPS or, USPS if we have some of those, or if I have enough, scheduling UPS to come. So, and then transitioning now and learning how to do some social media ads, Google ads. I'm trying to teach myself some of those things as well to keep it going and, put some of those dollars to work in the forms of ads. So the transition, from those drops to where we are at now on the daily is definitely different. And it's all learn. I mean, it's just a different mindset. It's a different way of learning and a different way to try to grow the business.
So, not to get into my story too much, but I have 2 stints as an entrepreneur growing up. And I think you just said it best. It's a constant state of learning. And I think in order, for you to continue to grow the business, you just have to learn more and reach out to those who've either had success in doing so, or as you mentioned, figure it out yourself. As you look to the future of Charlie Golf, like what do you hope to achieve and hope to grow as the business continues?
I don't know what it really looks like long term. I'm a terrible long term thinker, and I know that's a downfall. But the beautiful thing, Jared, my buddy, is a great long term visionary thinker. I'm more of a day to day. Let's figure out what needs to happen now. So maybe I'm more of an operator. I have no idea, but it is cool to talk to him about things. He has these different visions, and gives me ideas, and I try to do the same with him as far as his business is concerned too. But as far as what it looks like, there's this part. Charlie's going to get older, and I'm already currently working on the next set of clubs as far as what, from the 5 to 8 year old, under 53 or 51 inches tall, working on those clubs, which are different types of clubs. So working on that as far as the weighting is concerned, what those shafts look like. And then also the next style bag, which is not going to be a Sunday carry bag. It's going to be, because we've polled some people on like Instagram and asked, for a 5 to 8 year old, I think a stand at that point is now necessary. And I think, 1 or 2 straps, having the combination of potentially both is what we're working on right now for that next age group. And honestly, I think that's probably one of the biggest age groups. There's been a lot of research. Junior golf is exploding right now. That 5 to 8 year old market might be much bigger than the toddler golf market.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think it hits on a key trend that's happening in golf. And, you being part of the game for pretty much your whole life, it's probably seen the stark evolution of more people are playing. There's different ways in, do you think how your brand or your company can help impact kind of the future of golf in getting kids, into the sport in a different way or in a more fun way, or even getting parents of kids into the sport in that way?
I haven't really thought of it as far as like growing the game. You hear that all the time. I honestly have not thought of it that way at all. I just think there's something unique about the sport of golf that other sports don't have. And there's something about a grandfather passing the game on to his son and his son passing it on to his son or daughter. And then you introducing the game, because there's something about golf that we know it's a lifelong sport. We know how much we've enjoyed it, growing up and playing the sport. That I think there's just something about seeing your kid on the golf course, getting a club in their hands and letting them see what happens. I mean, when we go to a golf course with like Charlie, and my daughter's now getting to an age where she's 2.5 now. She's getting up there where she's going to start coming out to the golf course with us as well. But getting them out there, they're not hitting golf balls the entire. It doesn't work. They're not working on their swing. It's one of those things where they're just outside. They're having fun. Yeah. They're starting to understand. Hey, we can't run on the greens, or like this is where I tee off, or that bunker is really fun to play in, or let's toss a rock into the creek. Like there's these things about the golf course that a kid just naturally loves, I think. And riding the golf cart obviously is a big thing. So I think he truly just enjoys being out there, and enjoying time outside with dad or mom. And
I think and that's key, right? Because most golfers are not going to be professionals or even competitive in the sport, right? So it's finding enjoyment on the course. And I think if that's the reason your company exists, I think that's a great reason in and of itself.
There's a great clip out there with Padraig Harrington. I'm sure you might have seen it from, it was a couple of years, maybe a year and a half ago or so, when he was, talking about the juniors in the game. And that clip really resonated with me. Is like, the kid has to enjoy it. And if the kid is starting to get grumpier or whatever, it's time to leave. Like, there's no forcing it. It's just enjoy being out there. We'll play 5. I have in my mind, I'm going to go play 9 holes. If I'm with Charlie out there playing, it might be 5 holes, 5 or 6 holes. And then we know it's time to go. We can skip a couple holes, and we know it's time to go, and like treat them to, some ice cream afterwards, or a piece of pizza on the way home, whatever. And make it enjoyable and memorable for them. Yeah.
That's awesome. Talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, being a somewhat new entry into the golf business world, right? You're a former competitive player, but from a business standpoint, you're new to the game. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about how the golf community has welcomed you, has helped you, and just that difference from being a competitive golfer to being a golf businessman.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Like, I have not had hardly like any negative experiences I'm speaking on Twitter right now. People say, it can be a cesspool and it can be, dirty. I've had very positive interactions with the golf community on Twitter. There's a lot of support out there. It's been really cool, like just people supporting you, as far as, just complimenting, buying, telling you good job, whatever it is. It's been very, very positive in my opinion. And then like even through Instagram, just telling the story, it's crazy. Some of the connections that I've made, and some of the, even some of the collaborations I've been able to do here recently has been incredible. These companies are reaching out to, me new into the space, not even a year old. So it's really exciting to sort of, look into the future a little bit to see, okay, what could potentially happen with this, and what other brands could potentially want to work with us. So it's been really cool. I think the golf community is very small and tightly knit, which is awesome.
Talk to me, thinking through the steps you've taken to get to where you guys are now, anything that comes to mind that you would have done differently, just to give other entrepreneurs a sense of a reflection and what could have gone different if you did things different?
It's a tough question, because this might not be the best answer. This is probably not going to be the best answer. I've been very fortunate. I can look back and I can say, like, telling the story on Twitter and the drops and doing all that, like, it's been all worth it. There's been a hindsight of telling the story in public because more competition is going to be, coming, but that is what it is. I think I would not be where I'm at without telling the story on Twitter and being transparent and showing all that. So, I mean, that's one of the things that you just sort of gotta pay attention to. But other than that, honestly, me personally, not taking any outside money, wanting to bootstrap it, control my destiny with it, take it at my own speed, grow at the speed that I want to grow. And, I sort of know the avenues that I want to go, and that's staying out of, I don't want to go into retail. I don't want to be, in that space. Understanding sort of the game plan and putting together that game plan and, what that looks like, I think was really important for me.
And is that the strategy going forward, like staying out of retail or even green grass accounts and just being a DTC brand?
Green grass accounts would be the wholesale avenue that I'm looking at, and we've already had a couple, and they're not really like necessarily. I don't want to say big. I mean, like there's pretty small minimum order quantity as far as the bags, and we're doing the customization as far as embroidery for those golf courses, and then wholesale pricing on the golf clubs as well to get them out to the golf courses. So yeah, the DTC is obviously the one channel, and then the next other channel that we're working on growing right now is the wholesale green grass. Green grass shops are what I want to be working with. Golf destinations, high-end golf courses. When mom or dad, specifically, I'm speaking me, dad goes out on a trip and leaves a 4-year-old and 2-year-old at home with mom, I might feel a little guilty. And, there might be a toddler golf bag there for my 4-year-old kid that I can bring on home with him when I come back. So that's sort of the vision that I'm thinking. And that's sort of the route that I want to be taking.
That's awesome. As we close out the episode, I have what I've been doing with the other guests is doing some rapid fire questions, just a handful of them. Would love to just get your answers and give the audience a different sense of you as a guest and your connection to the game.
Okay, sounds good. Let's do it.
Cool. What's your favorite golf course to ever play on?
Jared might have said the same thing. I do not know. I haven't seen the episode yet. So I'm going to say the Prairie Club, the Dunes course.
Awesome. Who is your golf hero or biggest inspiration in the sport and the business?
Golf hero would be my dad because he taught me the game, and I still remember that first time that I beat him. I remember it in like a 6-iron from like 120 yards out, and I made it for birdie. And I was probably, like 12 years old, and I think it sort of rattled him. But yeah, my dad being the golf hero. As far as businesses that I look up to is I love the Golfer's Journal. They did a bag with me, but I've loved that company for 2 to 3 years, and I love the journalism of it and the storytelling of Golfer's Journal. I think it's phenomenal.
Well, when you get the issue and it's beautifully done, it's premium. It's
you
just,
can't throw it away.
You
cannot throw that thing away.
Totally.
I mean, I have all of them. I bought all of them, so I have like the collection of them. Yeah. I just think they're awesome pieces.
Well, that must have been very cool to do the partnership with them.
It's great.
What's your go-to snack or drink on the course?
Go-to drink is Coors Light. Pretty normal guy there, I think. And then snack, boy, I just personally, I always get a hot dog at the golf course. I keep it simple. Yeah, I'll just do a hot dog.
That's awesome. Last one. If you could play around with any golfer, living or dead, who would it be?
Any golfer. I mean, I'm sure it's probably a very common answer, but it's gonna be Tiger. I mean, he's literally the guy that was the guy I looked up to playing. In the late 90s. That was right when I was a young teenager, I believe. Yeah, I would have been about 13, 14. That was obviously transformed the way that I looked at golf and the guy that I wanted to try to be. So it would definitely be Tiger. I'm sure you're probably gonna get that answer quite a bit.
Yes.
But who knows?
Before I let you go, it's pretty unique that both you and Jared are building golf businesses where you guys live. Talk a little bit just about how special that is. One, he's a friend. Two, you both are entrepreneurs in similar yet different businesses. And you're both in, a rural area that not many entrepreneurs think of when they think of building businesses. So just talk a little bit about how special that is.
I mean, it's awesome. And you're right. The thing that sort of stands out is I think you could build a business anywhere as long as you can tell a story and build an audience. It doesn't matter where you are located at, especially nowadays. But having Jared, here where I can text him, run on over to his shop, talk to him, see his process, learn from each other's mistakes. I mean, we talk about things all the time, and having somebody to lean on like that is awesome. I mean, our families hang out all the time, his kids, our kids. So
awesome.
We're around each other. I don't think I've been in a city without Jared. Even when I was down from college, we went to Kansas City. We were in Kansas City together for a while. And then now I'm up here in Mason City where he actually grew up. Yeah, it is pretty crazy to think about. His business is completely different than mine. So it's cool to sort of like understand both sides of the business. And obviously, as I said before, Jared is a visionary thinker. So having that, like, that mindset and hearing some of his thoughts, in regards to my company is pretty cool. And hopefully I can give him some decent tidbits every once in a while as well.
I'm sure you do
for his business.
No, I'm sure you do. And hopefully it's only a matter of time between or before a Hana and Charlie collab comes out.
Who knows? He needs to get caught up on some of his orders.
Yeah.
I don't need to take any of his CNC time making toddler putters right now, but in the future, potentially, yeah.
Well, fair enough, Tyler. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Before we let you jump, if you want to tell the audience where to find Charlie Golf Company, where to find you on all the socials, now's your time.
Sure. Yeah. So website is to where you can buy golf bags and golf clubs is charliegolfco.com. We have a brand, Charlie Golf Co. Instagram page, and then I use my personal Twitter on Twitter. Try to tell a story. Usually tweet about golf all the time and the business, and that's Tyler Johnson _59. 59 had nothing to do with the golf score. It was this previous idea that I had about 2 years ago that was going to be called 59 Design, where I would work with small rural town golf courses to get websites up and running for them.
Oh, cool.
Because there's a lot of rural golf courses around Iowa that only have a Facebook page. That was the idea behind the Tyler Johnson _59, and I've kept it since.
Very cool.
Have not shot 59.
What's that?
I have not shot 59.
Yeah, well, you could always that could always be a goal of yours.
Who knows? Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the time, Tyler. Continued success, and look forward to following along.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, take care.